hello, and welcome to QETV Live Show with yours truly, your host, Miss H. I am just so excited today, really full, really happy, really just into what today's lesson will be all about, today's show, and you'll find out in a few minutes why. You'll also see some bold red colors that are just blended together, and we'll talk more about that too. But I just want to say to my viewers today, I really truly appreciate you for viewing, for watching QETV Live Show, engaging with me weekly, every week, every Thursday from 1:30 to 2:30. Thank you, thank you, thank you for your loyalty. But today's show is one that is not just for you only. Today's show is worth sharing because, you know, when you eat at a fine restaurant or just eat, period, and it's really good, or you know someone who has good products or services, it's all about sharing that information with someone. That's what today's show is all about. It's the type of information that you don't want to keep to yourself. You want to share it, because when you learn what life is about, finding your purpose and getting free, my God, it is your responsibility to share with someone else and to help them. That's what this life is all about. Loving one another, reaching out. We are our brothers. We are our sisters' keepers. So I just want to briefly share that as I was preparing for the show this week, I asked the Lord, what should I start it off with? Because, you know, I always like to start my show off with the faith builder, because here we bridge inspiration to inspire you, inspiration with information. You know, for lack of knowledge, you perish. So the more information you have accessible to you, or you know about, you know, knowledge is power. We all know that. When we learn to read, my God, it opened doors for us. So knowledge is power. So that's why we bridge inspiration with information for everyday life. Why? Because we're supposed to live every day. The just shall live by faith. And as long as you breathe, and if you want to check that, if you are breathing in oxygen and exhaling, you are alive. So the Bible says the just shall live by faith. So as long as you live, you need to learn how to live everyday life to its fullest. So this is my faith builder for today. I was reading in Genesis, and there's this famous question that was asked. And that's the question that I'm going to propose to you. But I'm not going to leave you hanging today, because we have someone here that is going to inform you, help celebrate you, and invite you to be able to answer that question if you don't know the answer. But if you know the story of the first man and woman, when God created Adam and Eve, he gave them a set of instructions, you know. And, you know, that's some of the hardest things as human beings. We're creatures of habits. As soon as someone give us a set of instruction, I don't know why, but our mental brain just want to do the opposite. You tell us yes, we find a way for no. You say no, it's like almost like reverse psychology. As humans, we tend to do that, especially when we are immature. We see that a lot in children, you know, that immaturity stage. But as you grow up, you realize instructions become your best friend, because instructions sometimes could be a matter of life and death. But going back to Genesis 1, because I want to save all the time for our special guest co-host today, but God gave Adam a set of instructions. Okay, Adam was fine with that instruction. And I know God didn't want Adam to be alone, so he created that helpmeet. And come on now, we always hear Adam was fine till he got that woman near him. You know, we always hear that. But wait a minute, because Adam needed us, okay? But we all know the story how there's always a hater, and God had an enemy, and that enemy got into the head of the woman. and deceived her. The Bible said Adam was not deceived, Eve was. But fast forward, in the cool of the day, God came to visit, to talk with them. And we all love socializing. We are humans that are created to be touched, to be loved, to be talked to. And he said to them, Adam, notice he called that man, where are you? Now, God knew where Adam was, but that's not the question. The question was, from a spiritual point, where are you, Adam? And so God was asking Adam to locate the place of where he was with his creator, because someone came in and interrupted his purpose. And his purpose was to obey the set of instructions to live life to the fullest. And that's the question I'm proposed to you, because you may find yourself, and I know I do often, and I have to, go find people or go find a word or scripture in God's word to help me locate when I'm in a dark place, because that's where it put Adam. When he disobeyed those set of instructions, it put him in a place that was a dark place, out of the presence of God. And he says, why are you hiding? And that's what we do when we don't have answers to life. We tend to go inward. We tend to withdraw. We tend to get depressed. We tend to hide ourselves. All of those are signs that you recognize. And when you recognize that, you need someone to ask you, where are you? To help instruct you, to guide you, to bring you. And that's what my guest co-host today, her responsibility, she has a mission, her call right now in life today will help you to help navigate you. She's not going to do it all for you. We're going to give you just portions of it today, but you're going to find out how to get in touch with her at the end of the show. But she's going to help you navigate, inform you, help direct you, and then provide information for you to help you locate yourself. And not only just locate yourself, because it's one thing to locate yourself. People say, well, I'm depressed. You can look at me, you can tell. Or you haven't seen a person in a long time and you know something is going on in their life. Or you may be at a place where, you're not in a dark place. You're just in a stuck place. Like, I've gone as far as I can go. How do I go from here? Because we all need to continue to educate, to get instruction for our life, to move us higher into the place where we all want to go. Finding, I call it that wealthy place, that place of divine purpose in life. And you need coaches to help get you there. Again, we have someone here today that is gifted, that is talented to help lead you, to help locate you, and to navigate your divine purpose in life. So this is what I want you to do. I want you to click on Vox Wave and tell someone to subscribe to Vox Wave. Yes, go to VOXWAV. Click on VoxWave.com. Give them these instructions. Click on that website and it'll take you to a live button, because we're here in the studio. You will get us live today. As I'm speaking now, we're live right here in Clinton, Maryland. And my guests will be here live today. So click on Vox Wave. You must subscribe. Go to the YouTube channel. You subscribe. I know it sounds like a lot of instructions, but you remember I just told you instructions can save your life, because this program is for you today. Again, you don't have to be down and out. You can be up and out. We can have it either way. Okay, there's people in both sides, or you could be just caught in the middle and don't know that you are slipping and on your way down. or you're in the middle and you want to go up even higher. These set of instructions can help you in your life right now. So go to VoxWave, click on that live button, watch us live to get these dynamic truths that's going to help, again, navigate you to your place, your purpose, your divine call. That's what we're all here to do. And that's why I'm here. QETV Live Show is here to bridge inspiration with information for everyday life. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
So you like smooth jazz? Great. Horn of Plenty, Harvest Harmony from saxophonist Travis Bridges. Smooth jazz and all the sax you'll ever need. Available at travisbridges.com. 786-487-7338. Horn of Plenty from Travis Bridges. All the sax you'll ever need.
You're watching the QETV Live Show with your host, Mrs. H. Tune in at VoxWave.com or call in at 240-719-2560. Again, that's 240-719-2560. We're located at 4711 Auth Place in Camp Springs, Maryland. Watch live the QETV Live Show every Thursday from 1:30 p.m. to 2:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Would you like to be a guest on the QETV Live Show with your host, Mrs. H? You may reach her at 240-353-3806. Again, that's 240-353-3806, or email QETVLive@gmail.com. The QETV Live Show is bridging inspiration and information for everyday life.
Welcome to Dr.Dee.Carroll.com. Are you overwhelmed with tough decisions? Has life dealt you some difficult blows? Are you wondering how to rise from the ashes and totally reinvent yourself? Hi, I'm Dr. Dee Carroll, and I'm your emotional emancipation doctor. I bring my captivating personal experience of reinvention, ultimately becoming the phoenix who rose from the ashes to recreate a beautiful life in spite of devastating and overwhelming odds. I can support your reinvention efforts by helping you discover unique tools to release, recover, restore, and reinvent your life. I'm a sought-after, gifted, and engaging speaker, coach, seminar host, and consultant. My new book, Emotional Emancipation: Step into Your Freedom, Reinvent Your Challenges, and Move Beyond. I invite you to visit and explore my site and learn how I can be your next keynote speaker, your individual and or organizational coach, or your workshop and seminar host. Finally, don't forget to view and embrace the 30-second quick fixes to reinventing yourself.
That's beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. I love it. Again, this is you are viewing QETV Live show with your host, Mrs. H, and with my special guest today. If you just heard her opening, welcoming statement that is just so inviting. I mean, I was sitting here like, oh, I would love to come and visit with you and contact you. It's just so inviting. But our lovely co-host guest, Dr. Carroll, Dee Carroll, thank you so much for coming on my show.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Okay, you know what? I want to jump right on in and get started. First, we're going to talk about, just introduce yourself, tell the viewers who you are and how you got started with where you are now in life. And then we'll talk about your upcoming book and events.
Okay. All right. Well, first of all, again, I'm known as Dr.Dee. Dr.Dee Carroll. People affectionately call me Dr.Dee.
Okay.
And I'm originally from Florida. I came here to go to medical school, did 1 year of medical school, contracted Crohn's disease, and became so ill that I was in the hospital for a couple months. Major surgery, intestinal resection, but once I got through that, Mrs. H, I said, okay, God, what do you have for me to do? Mm-hmm. So I had been an insurance agent, the first African-American female in the nation to open a State Farm insurance agency in Florida. That was in Orlando. Okay. And so I thought, I know business, I'll go back to that. But since I left home to be a doctor, I thought I better finish that. So I went on and got a PhD in business administration and management. Ran a multi-million-dollar business for almost 30 years, had a CFO who was running two sets of books, and I lost it all. I lost everything. My business, my savings, my 401k, my rental properties, I lost everything and literally had to start over again.
Wait a minute. Was that here in the Washington, D.C. area?
Right here.
So you moved from Florida. Now, what caused you to migrate from Florida to the Washington, D.C. area?
My sister was in law school here.
Okay.
And I wanted to complete medical school, so I came. Yes,
so it was the schooling.
Yes.
Okay, we're going to back up a minute.
Okay.
You had a bookkeeper. So this is a really defining moment for you. How did you discover the lost?
Well, your gut is always talking, Mrs. H. Most of us, however, don't stop to listen.
Say that again.
Your gut is always talking, but we don't stop to embrace that conversation. And in particular, women, we're really in touch with it. We have that inward ability.
That's exactly true.
To be in touch with that. So I didn't listen. I continued to move on. And then finally, one day I thought, I better check into this. And I hired an outside CPA to come in. In fact, come in, look at things in the evening. We gathered all the information, went to another office so he would not know what we were doing. And we researched and researched, and lo and behold, when we discovered, I was so knee-deep because he was borrowing to keep it going using our line of credit with the bank. Yes, yes. So talk about devastation.
Yes.
Talk about understanding how people get to that all-time low of suicide. Okay, because there were some nights I would be looking at the ceiling, crying, praying, and crying some more, only to understand, wow, this is how people get there. But because I know and love the Lord, I know God,
Come on.
It's like, God, direct my path, because I am at a position right now of possibly no return. But because he's so merciful, so gracious,
amazing,
so loving.
Yes, he is.
He directed my path. And so therefore, reinvention came into my heart. It came into my inward being. And I said, okay, we can do this again.
So that is how I see the title of this book, Emotional Emancipation. How did you get started with this name? What is emotional emancipation?
Emotional emancipation, Mrs. H, is to become free. It's really about freeing oneself of the detrimental thought processes that we go through. It's about freeing oneself from negative limitations, either self-imposed by us, because we do a lot of damage ourselves, or imposed by the thoughts of others.
Amazing.
Yes.
Because, you know, immediately when I hear that word emancipation, you know, your mindset want to go to over 400 years ago when, you know, our forefathers was in slavery, and then they celebrated the day of Emancipation Proclamation. And we look at that as horrific, that bondage in which it was indeed. But here we are, fast forward 2019, and people still can be in bondage.
Yes, I say when the Emancipation Proclamation was put into place by our government to officially end slavery, but I submit to you that there is still a kind of slavery that's going on right now. It is alive and well, and it is called the slavery of the mind. We are so tied up with the mental and the emotional baggage that just shapes our lives and really gives us a false image of who we are.
So even though it can appear, because even with the forefathers, physically they were free, but mentally that did a damage in their mental psyche. So how did you get free out of that? Because that is devastating to wake up and everything you worked so hard for is gone, or you've been betrayed. I mean, how do one rise from such devastation?
Well, I tell you, I refer to myself as the phoenix who rose from the ashes.
Tell them what phoenix means. What does that terminology? We hear people talk about it. We know Phoenix, Arizona. We're not talking about the city and state, but give them an example of what, you know, people say about the phoenix and why you use that term.
I use that term, and I know a lot of people, a phoenix is a bird.
Yes.
Okay? And this bird has been able to get up using its wings and fly and just rise, build itself up from that all-time low point. Okay? And so when you embrace that mindset, then you are literally able to do and be whatever you choose in life, literally.
So tell us some, if you don't mind sharing, the reality had to set in. You had to do some real work, because that's no joke. Because now this affected your home, your finances, your clients, everything around you, everyone, your employees, because I'm sure you had employees to help you run. How did you begin to climb out of that dark place? Because just as I said at the beginning of the show, there's a place where God asks, where are you? Did you go and get psychological help? You know, some people say, did you go get medicated? Did you call your girlfriend and have a ice cream social and you cried all night? Like, I know people have real life experience, and I'm not making light of all of those things that may comfort you during those times, but every one of us process devastation and emotional trauma differently.
Yes.
How did you process it, and who was there to help you put some wind beneath your wings and fly again?
Mrs. H, it's so amazing because all of my life, I've been the go-to person.
Yes.
When somebody wants advice, I've been coaching since I was a kid because that was my gift. You know, everybody says we all have gifts.
Yes.
But I didn't know that that was my gift. I just used it. I gave people the advice. I always had good advice, and God just placed in my spirit what to say to people, and they used it to their advantage. Well, when this happened, it's like, who am I going to go to now? Who am I going to talk to? And you really know who your friends are and your loved ones when you're down and out. When you're flying high, everybody loves you. But when you're down, they're few and far between.
So you mean to tell me it shifted?
Absolutely. Absolutely. But for the grace of God and my sisters, one of my sisters called me one morning and she said, Dee, when you've done all you can do, stand. And that gave me the energy to do what I needed to do. But God lifted me.
Wow.
He carried me. He provided for me. And I had people coming at me, obviously my creditors, lived in my dream home for 17 years, finally had to walk away from that. When you talk about starting over, I literally started over. Yes.
Now let me ask you, because a lot of times in starting over like that, you know, sometimes the lies and the deception can be within your mental self, put in the shame and the guilt, which is another form of bondage because, okay, if you got to sell the home, you got to take back the car. How did you process that? Because now you're living in your dream home. You know, sometimes people drive in the car of their dreams, or they're living, you know, this life that they've worked hard for because you got it honestly.
Right.
How did you manipulate, or how did you begin to work through the shame, the guilt, or did you feel that?
I felt major shame, major embarrassment, major guilt that almost took me out of here because I had to go due to stress. I was in and out of the hospital 5 different times because the stress had almost overtaken me. Yes, I always prided myself in being able to pay mortgages, put kids through school, you know, I mean, provide for people, because I've been an employer for so many years. But now all of a sudden people are looking at me and depending on a paycheck, and I'm trying to figure out what's my next step. So of course I started robbing Peter to pay Paul. I started taking from over here, cashing in this, cashing in that, until all of a sudden it's like, you gotta face the music. It's not going anywhere. So I ultimately filed Chapter 11, tried to reorganize and restructure, then went to Chapter 7. And one day I just said, Lord, Lord, you've got to show me how to get out of this. And a clear voice said, hey, reinvent yourself.
Oh, I love it.
Yes. And so that's how emotional emancipation came up. It took me a couple years before I wrote the book, but I started thinking, how does one reinvent themselves?
Yes.
And so I just started going through that process of researching and just trying to figure out what can make me whole again? What can make me that person that I always was?
what can take me out of this negative, ugly, depressing space and propel me to growth, propel me to success, propel me to all the desires that I've always had, because the me, who I really am, the real me,
Yes.
has not changed.
Wow.
The situation and circumstances change, but not the real me. So I went and got in touch with my inward self and said, who is Dee Carroll? Will the real Dee Carroll stand up, be accounted for? And that's how I got started.
That is amazing.
Yes.
You know what? We just talked about those places again. And I just want to say I'm so excited having Dr. Dee Carroll. If you just tuned in to QETV Live show, we're discussing her new book, how she rose up from a devastating place in her life and how she began to reinvent herself. I'm just so excited. And Elaine, if you're watching, thank you so much for bringing our paths together and allowing us to have this special day. As a matter of fact, when she walked in today, she saw my red, I saw her red. So you know what the famous quote is, great minds think alike. So I feel honored to be sitting here. I feel like my mind is great today, all because I'm sitting in the studio. And that's what you have to do, as she just declared, that as long as you are up and you got people around you, people are hooraying you. They did it to Jesus. And he said, if they did it to me, they will do it to the least of my loved one. They Hosanna her, during that time. But then when devastation came, that's when you truly find your inner circle and your inner voice. And if you just tuned in, she had to find and she had to discover, as we talked about early in the show, where are you? She had to really find that place, because the car didn't make her, the house didn't make her, the multi-million-dollar business didn't make her. Who was Dee Carroll? And she reached down inside of her and discovered she was the same person that was created before the foundation of the world. What God had placed in her had not left her. All she had to do is rise up and begin to command that life to come back again. And I've always heard the saying, Dr. Carroll, that you can take $1 million from me, or I could lose it, but you can't take my mind, how I got it, because I can start all over again. And it sounds like that's what that phoenix inside of you did. God gave you and birthed that purpose in you. And you were able to rise back up and say, if I did it once, I can do it again.
Absolutely.
So fast forward, you begin to write your book and to share your story. How does emotional emancipation help others? How do you help others?
Well, first of all, I want to just say to your viewers that we all have a book of life. Our lives are considered a book.
A book of life.
Yes. And let me share with you that the first chapter in your book is your birth. The last chapter in your book is your death. And all the chapters in between, Mrs. H, represent the life that you live.
Oh, I love that.
So people take it for granted that they're here. They take for granted their purpose and their real meaning. But you've got to know you can write your own story, or you can allow your story to be written for you.
I love it.
So take charge and write your own story. The Bible tells us that many are the afflictions of the righteous, but he will see us through. So don't think that you're exempt because you love the Lord. You're not exempt from trials, tribulations, nor adversities. In fact, you should embrace those because they're going to make you grow.
And let me add, that leads me to the question of, I love that we all have a book of life, a story to write.
Yes.
And she just mentioned your birth and then your death, but there's some stuff in between. Why is it important to write a vision?
Because if you don't have a vision, you'll wind up anywhere, okay? The Bible tells us to, without a vision, you have no purpose. I mean, you've got to write your vision and make it plain.
Make it plain.
Okay? So let's look at this analogy. If you set out to drive to California, before you get in that car, you're going to lay out a map. You're going to lay out a plan. Where I'm going to go, where I'm going to stop, where I'm going to stay, how I'm going to get there, everything.
Yes.
Well, guess what? You need a map for your life. If you don't lay out a vision and make it plain, guess what? You can end up anywhere. Just like if you don't have a map to go to California, you could end up in Nevada. You could end up in Alabama. You could end up almost anywhere.
So that's the reason why a lot of times we get so frustrated, because we don't know where we're going.
Yes.
You know,
yes.
It reminds me of the famous quote from Alice in Wonderland. She asked, well, where are you going? He asked, where are you going? And she said, I don't know. He said, well, any road will take you there.
That's
you
right.
know, so
that's right.
If I don't have, and now we have to say for the millennials, if I don't have a GPS for my life, a system for my life, then I will end up fulfilling somebody else's vision in life.
That's exactly right. The other thing the Bible tells us, without a vision,
yes,
the people perish. So imagine if you don't have a layout, a map, a plan for your life, where are you going? You don't have a clue, you could perish, okay? So the thing with me is I've always had a vision.
Okay.
I've always had, and it wasn't necessarily listed as a vision at the time,
yes,
but it was goals for me.
Yes.
So I set goals really early in life, and I would review them at least weekly. Then when everything happened, I said, I got these same goals. Let me go back and start looking at my goals.
Awesome.
And that helped shape me and allowed me to know that I still had a map. I still had somewhere that I could go, and I knew that I had something to hold on to as I went there.
So let me ask you, if those goals, because they were realistic goals and they were attainable goals, and you had access to them, it helped put you back on your course.
Yes.
Okay, if I'm in a devastating position and I don't have any goals and I don't have a vision and I don't know where I'm going, where do I start, or how can I start?
Well, first of all, I offer a prescription to break free.
Okay.
And I tell everybody this is a great starting place. And it's used or based on the acronym FREEDOM.
Oh, I love it. Freedom. Go through that for us.
First of all, F. The F is forgiveness. You want to forgive yourself and others.
I love it.
Take time for you. We got to realize that we all have a little part in that trial, a little part in that tribulation and adversity. So accept responsibility.
So you have to own that.
You have to own that. And most people don't want to own that, Mrs. H, because they want to put it on someone else.
You know what? I'm glad she said that. I'm going to interject here because that was one of the things when I read in Genesis. One of the reasons God asked Adam, where are you? He needed him to own his mistake. He said, it's that woman you gave me.
Yes.
And then Eve blamed, you know, we play that blame game.
Yes.
Eve said, well, it's that serpent that beguiled me.
That's right.
So I love the fact that God first wanted them to own it. So we play a part, even though we were not born. Sometimes people say, well, I didn't ask to be born, but you are born, which is a blessing. And maybe you were violated and you didn't ask for that and you had nothing to do with that. But the point is, go ahead on and own where you are right now, and then go from here. So start with that freedom. I love that. Add freedom.
Okay.
Okay.
R would be rejuvenate, reward, and replenish yourself. Again,
Okay.
you want to take time for you. It's just important, very important, because we zip through life,
Yes.
running, racing, got to get this done. We have an action item list that far exceeds the time that we have, and we don't stop to sharpen the axe, if you will.
Yes.
So we need to do that. The first E would be embrace the possibilities.
Oh, I
Change
love
your
it.
perception, grow, and move to the next level. The next E would be express gratitude while being enlightened. Now, this is very important because you want to be thankful for your trial and tribulation. And I know people say,
Yes,
how can you
that's-
find thanks in a trial or a tribulation?
Yes.
But there's no growth without adversity. So know that every time you face what you may think is an insurmountable odd, just know that this is growth and preparation for your next chapter in life.
Amazing.
Yes. Now, D is near and dear to my heart because it's don't quit, stay in the game. Quitting can never, ever, ever be an option. I don't care how low you get. I had been working all day and had an evening event, came home late one night, so tired, too exhausted to go to sleep. So I grabbed the remote, turned on the tube, and flipped channels. Well, I couldn't find anything that was appealing, but I ran up on this boxing match. Now, I'm not necessarily a boxing person, but okay, imagine, now follow me here. One guy was beating his opponent to a pulp. Eyes swollen, blood running down his cheeks. The bell rang, they ran into the corner, the bell rang again, out they came. Well, the guy that was getting the beat down, he came out swinging like nobody's business, landing some punches and missing others. But all of a sudden, he mustered up enough strength to knock the guy out who had been beating him to a pulp.
Wow.
Now, what's the moral to this story, Mrs. H? If you stay in the game, you may just win. But if you get out prematurely, the rest is history. So quitting can never, ever, ever, ever be an option. Stay in the game.
Stay in the game.
Yes. The O is own the fear. Now, people say, Dr. D, what does own the fear mean? Own the fear is simply taking a stand. I will fear no more. That's owning fear. And finally, the M is move beyond agony to achievement. If you stay caught up in that pain and that agony and that mental beatdown of where you are currently, guess what? You're going to be there. Once you move beyond it, it will get you from where you are to where you want to be.
Love it.
That's the freedom acronym.
That's the freedom acronym.
The prescription to break free.
Wow. When, as a sigh of relief, as you were going through these emotional breakthroughs, you know, it's almost what I remember T.D. Jakes, woman, thou art free. You sound like a woman of freedom. What started with the book? What changes have you began to see once you began to walk through this prescription, wrote your book? What are the testimonials you're hearing now from that?
Oh, I'm hearing so many great testimonials. People are inspired, and that's the legacy that I want to leave, Mrs. A, to inspire and empower
That's what it's
people
all about.
To move beyond trials, tribulations, and adversities. That is so crucial for me because I was down in the desert. I mean, I was deep in the desert. And if I can pull myself out of it, guess what? So can you. And I want you to be empowered to move beyond. You don't have to stay where you are. You can learn from that adversity. You can grow from it. You can propel yourself to success. So the legacy that I want to leave, and I want in particular women to know.
Yes.
Because we try to be everything to everybody.
Wonder
the best
Woman.
wife, the best mom, the best sister, the best aunt, the best of everything.
Everything.
And when adversity strikes, we are so low that we have nothing to reach down and grab a hold of. So we've got to learn as women to save just enough for ourselves, just enough to get beyond that crazy situation. Because guess what? If you keep living,
That's a word of wisdom.
some rain is going to come down on you.
That's wisdom.
That's just how it works. So for me, being in that place and knowing that I didn't want to stay there. Two, I knew I had some work to do. And I wasn't happy about the work because I felt like I had done all of my work. I had blessed others. I had just, employed people for all these years
Right.
and helped people, obviously helping myself, but I had helped people. And so I'm thinking, why am I going through this? But you have to know that there's something bigger. There's something
Amazing.
better. There's something that God has in store for you, but he can't just drop it on you like that because you're not prepared to deal with it. So I receive whatever he has coming from me. And people who read the book, they come and they tell me, oh, this is so inspiring. This is a tool for life, Dr. D. This has really helped me. I go back and forth because in the book, I not only talk about myself, but I talk about many great, wise people who had issues, but they
Yes.
rose above them.
Rose above.
Yes, and that's what it's all about. That's living the life.
Wow, that's amazing. And I just heard that word of wisdom that you just shared with the viewers. Again, if you're watching us or you just tune in, you're watching QETV Live show with your host, Mrs. H, and with her special co-host guest, Dr.Dee, Carroll, who is an author, a speaker, a life coach, who will help guide you, navigate you into principles to lead you out of and into your place of freedom. You said, which I think is so imperative for women of today, we give so much of ourselves to everyone else and do not leave enough energy for ourselves, and we get drained. And then once we hit that low place in our lives, we do not have enough strength to pull ourselves up. So that's another reason why. Do you suggest having mentors, life coaches, and other people in your circle? Iron sharpens iron.
Yes.
How should one go about it? Because someone may find themselves in that place today. Like, I can't help it. I got 3 small kids at home. I got a husband. I work because, women today still have to work to maintain their family. And I go to church. I got, all my kids' events after school. And if you really think about it, there's not enough time in a day for us.
It really isn't. But we as responsible adults, we as responsible women to be that good wife and that great mother, we've got to find the time for ourselves. If it means getting up an hour early just to meditate or exercise or plan out your meals for the day, it's important that you take an hour over the weekend to get a massage or to speak with a life coach or to have a counselor. We as a race of people typically ran away from counseling. We thought it was a negative to have a counselor. Well, guess what? America has cleaned that term up now. You can have a life coach. You don't have to have a counselor. A life coach can guide and direct you, can help you get from where you are to where you want to be. So take some time for you, and it's okay to seek coaching or counseling or whatever it is you feel that's necessary for you. But guess what? I want everybody to know that the joy is in the journey. Another thing that we do, and we do it so, I mean, it's just ridiculous how much emphasis we put on this. And that is when I retire, when the kids get grown,
Yes.
when. Well, guess what? Life is not about a destination point. Life is about enjoying the journey as we go. So you've got to find time, because the destination is not promised. The journey is right now. So you've got to enjoy the journey.
I love it. I love it. So you now got to tell us. You notice I said us and the viewers. How do we find you? Tell us about your social media platform, and if you have any upcoming events. Okay?
Okay. You can find me on my website. It's www, of course,